Good evening, groundlings. Good to be with you again. Cheers. And how nice it was to bump into one of you just round the corner in the doorway of Waitrose in Marlborough, who said how much you'd enjoyed or appreciated the post about Bonhoeffer. Was it yesterday or the day before? And we had a quick chat about religionless Christianity over the pasta that I'd just bought. That was really an encouragement to me at the end of a long and quite hard day. And so I thought I'd pick up on that theme. I've been thinking a lot about it lately, and as some of you know, I've been getting back into theological reading after a little time of neglecting it. And I've been reading around some of my favourite writers. Bonhoeffer, of course, as I mentioned. This is my well-thumbed copy of Ethics. I don't know all of Ethics very well. I homed in on the bits that I just lapped up, and some of it is quite hard going and difficult to work out what he's talking about. This is my, you can't really see my pen annotations, but kind of halfway through the chapter called Christ, Reality and the Good is my favourite section. And I've been reading also, as I mentioned the other day, this fellow F.D. Morris, who's a bit of a, although he's 100 years or so before Bonhoeffer, slightly less, 80, 90 years before Bonhoeffer, he's a 20th century thinker really before the 20th century, and sounds so like Bonhoeffer is some of what he says about church and society. And then I picked up in the Oxfam bookshop in Marlborough, just by chance, or providence, this lovely booklet of some talks that Rowan Williams did on Christian imagination in poetry and polity, some Anglican voices from Temple to Herbert. And it's picking up on the same themes about church and society, and the idea, which is a very strongly Anglican one, Williams argues, but it's there in the Lutherans, of course, Bonhoeffer being a Lutheran, and others too, that the church is not to be understood as a distinct society over against the world, but the church is only meant to be part of society. This is what Rowan Williams says. Well, I've just said it, actually. It's pretty much, I was echoing his quote. The church is not a society over against other societies. The church is members of one society functioning in a particular way, and the particular ways are to do with worship and ethics, principally. And this is something that Rowan Williams in these lectures, in this booklet, traces through a number of Anglican thinkers from right from Wycliffe, Hooker, Herbert, the poet, Henry Vaughan, the poet, up to William Temple in the 20th century, of the church having no life of its own, so to speak, independently of society. And this accords with what Bonhoeffer is saying in Ethics about the church needing no special space of its own. That's all very well for me to approve of, isn't it, given that I know how much space the church does take up in the world. But actually, in social terms, what it's not seeking to do, ideally, is not grow its own empire, but actually seek what we call the kingdom of heaven within life as it is. This is what Bonhoeffer says. The space of the church is not there in order to deprive the world of a piece of its territory, but precisely in order to prove that the world is still the world that's loved by God. The church has neither the wish nor the obligation to extend her space to cover the space of the world. She asks for no more space than she needs for the purpose of bearing witness to Jesus Christ. The church is the place, the space in the world where the message of Jesus Christ is proclaimed. And so this is kind of, he's speaking out against the familiar and Catholic idea of Christendom, really, that there is not and this may be a misunderstanding of Catholic teaching, but the church is not a body that's growing its own power and space and empire in the world, so that you can define it separately to the world and say, there it is. No, that he's saying that the church ought to be, at least, only almost invisible, almost not invisible, but almost impossible to pin down, because it's permeating through the whole, like yeast permeates through a batch of dough. That which is Christian, Bonhoeffer writes, is to be found only in that which is of the world. The supernatural is only found in the natural, the holy only in the profane, the revelational only in the rational. I love that. I think that's just brilliant. So I'm reading on, if Christianity is ever employed as a polemical weapon against the secular, this must be done in the name only of a better secularity, and must not lead back to a spiritual sphere as an end in itself. You see, these themes are following through. Likewise, Coleridge, quoted by Rowan Williams, talks about the church as the friendly opposite of society, which is a lovely idea. It's not a society in itself, but it's part of society that's meant to give a kind of counterpoint to the way in which the prevailing society is heading. So various kind of clues that I've just found in the different books I've been reading are resonating with each other. A few scrappy thoughts there, but I love that. I'm just going to finish with that from Bonhoeffer. That which is Christian is to be found only in that which is of the world, the supernatural only in the natural, the holy only in the profane, the revelational only in the rational. And he bases that not simply on the message of, sorry, I'm looking down rather a lot. Hello. I got my nose in my books. He's basing that on the incarnation of Christ. You see, so he says, just as in Christ we believe the reality of God entered the reality of the world, therefore that which is Christian is to be found only in the world. The godly is only found in the world. For the Christian, if Christians look to Jesus as the place where we see God, that's only in the world. It's not. While it might point to eternity, it's only to be found in the world. So much more one could say and ask about that. Sorry, I've got to read a little bit more. It's so good. The Christian is an undivided whole, he writes. That I accept that this is idealistic, and we can point to many Christians, many aspects of the church, beginning with me, that are not like this, but he's talking in ideal terms. His worldliness does not divide him from Christ, forgive the gender-specific language from the 1930s, and his Christianity does not divide him from the world, but belonging wholly to Christ, the Christian stands at the same time wholly in the world, if that makes sense. His worldliness does not divide him from Christ, and his Christianity doesn't divide him from the world. So basically, if you're going to be a Christian, you've got to be in the midst of the world and not pretend that you've been evacuated off to some other realm, or that you're building an empire that is to be set against the world somehow. A few more musings there. We might pick it up again on another evening, but that'll do for now. We're at 10 minutes already. God bless you as you go to ground.